This was a letter, actually an email I wrote to an old friend from college 50 years after we'd had any contact at all, just hoping it would reach her, and it actually did. Hello, Molly. How thrilled I was to actually find you on the college alumni website. After jumping through the hoops to get on there myself, and then having the dumb luck to find your name when all I could remember was Molly, which the search engine doesn't turn up. I'm especially thrilled that at least as of November 2011, which is your last listed update, we are both still bobbing around in the soup of life because, provided you still are, I have something I need to tell you after all these years. But first I have to tell you, I can still see you, plain as day, just down the hall from me at KB, and can hear your voice and your laugh. Perhaps you were the most vibrant person I knew there in those cold granite buildings. I loved your enthusiasm and warmth. I can't imagine that those qualities have done anything but grow more so in the intervening years. Anyway, what I have to tell you is this. I remember your excitement about the guys you were studying. I remember your naming some of them. Rudolph Boltzmann, for one. Paul Tillich, for another, I believe. And maybe Teilhard de Chardin. You were trying to convince and convey to me the meaningful content you were discovering in your studies of theology. I, meanwhile, my head firmly clamped in the jaws of philosophy, could not begin to imagine how a person could take seriously a line of studies purporting to study God. I meant no offense, of course, but I just couldn't relate at all. I had nothing against God, to be sure. I was raised in the Christian faith by a believing mother, and my dad went along too. I had worked in a church camp every summer and earnestly sought to know God, but I couldn't find him anywhere in the halls of academia, and I couldn't find him in the church anymore either. I remember I went down to St. James one Sunday with the express purpose of seeing if I could sense anything real at all in the service. I made an agreement with myself, and God, if he was listening, that I would try this one last thing as openly and receptively as I could. And if nothing reached me, that was it. No more church, and put God on hold. I remember being surprised and perplexed to see the back of the bald head of my philosophy chair a few pews ahead of me. Dear Robert Jordan, what on earth was he doing there? How could he, so knowledgeable in all things philosophy, be hopping up and down with all that churchy stuff? Well, nothing happened for me. I was a little bit sorry as I was walking out of the church, but I had to go with what I could tell was real to that point. It wasn't there in church for me. Maybe Mr. Jordan was just going along, too, for his wife or something. I didn't know. Thus began a very long period in human terms, for me, of not knowing. Like, about 40 years or so. Come to think of it, something like the Israelites' probation in the desert. Well, all that long-winded introduction just to tell you a simple thing across all this time. Here is Leila spending her days immersed in Thomas à Kempis, Blessed Albert, Julian of Norwich, the Cloud of Unknowing, umpteen translations of the New Testament, especially the book of John and Romans, and book after book of more current theology, finding it all to be the most compelling, most exciting, and nourishing, and the most consistent with reason, course of studies I've ever encountered. I have been thus immersed for several years now, and what do you know? The answers I sought so ardently in philosophy, not finding them, of course, are coming to me now. I apologize, Molly, for whatever came across to you when you were so sincerely trying to wedge open a crack in my thick skull to let a little light and joy come in. Oh, I know, or feel pretty sure, it wasn't that you were trying to proselytize to me. It was just overflowing out of you, of your own enthusiasm and joy. I think I may have mentioned back then that I considered myself a slow learner. I still do. Good, but slow. Well, of course, I take an awful chance here, writing to you out of the blue after so many years, having no knowledge of the twists and turns your own life dramas may have taken. But regardless of where you may be at nowadays, I feel certain that what I saw then, and remember very clearly now, was your lovely spirit. And spirit doesn't change, regardless of the vicissitudes of mind and personality. Thank you for your friendship then. Just thought you might like to know where I'd got to in my circuitous way. May this find you in fine health and spirits, if I am lucky enough that it finds you at all. I am smiling now, remembering then. Leila.